Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis. Is Khamzat going to do to DDP what he has done to everyone else, or will DDP outlast him? What's up, everybody? Welcome to One on One. I, of course, am Laura Sanko, and as always, I am joined by the great brain of Din Thomas, the professor, the maestro, the voice of the UFC.
You're too kind.
No, I'm not.
No, hold on. But I do want to say this, though, because I was talking to some of our contemporaries today, and we were talking about fights. I'm not going to name names, but I was talking to some guys today, our contemporaries that work with us. And I was thinking to myself, like, do you guys even watch fights? How the hell are you guys on TV talking about this stuff?
Oh boy, oh boy. Dean hot out the gate. Hot out the gate with some thoughts.
Yeah. So then I said, you know what? I only want to talk to Laura Sanko about fights.
I do my homework. That is one thing. I am not great at many things. Doing my homework is the one thing I can control, and it's the one thing I always do. So there we go.
You know, that's just what it is. You do your homework to make sure that you're prepared intellectually with information to share.
I try. I do my best, Dean. Right? And I know that you do the same thing, so I appreciate you being my cohort on this channel. So, without further ado, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Dean, I know you got thoughts on this one because you have been all over the internet with some hot takes. Before we get into that, though, I just kind of want your top line reaction to this matchup, maybe what you're looking forward to seeing, just your first reaction, big picture to what we have to look forward to here.
I mean, so big picture is, does Dricus have an answer, right, for the initial 3 minutes? Like, does Dricus have an answer? I think a lot's going to be told in that 3 minutes, that initial 3 minutes. Does Dricus have an answer to deal with that 3 minutes? Like, he's got to survive that 3 minutes. So to me, does he have an answer for that? That's my biggest question in this whole fight.
What it all boils down to.
Yeah. Does he have what it takes to survive that 3 minutes? Now, and I don't mean like to get out of the 3 minutes. I mean to get out of it and get back and then stand up and be like, yeah, I'm still a man, right? Yeah. Because you can survive 3 minutes and then stumble back, and stumble, right? You can still be stumbling. Like, you could be like, oh my God, that was crazy. But does he have what it takes?
Yeah, you can never get the momentum back.
Right, but does he have what it takes to go, that's all you got, bro?
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that's the big question for me.
It is, and I agree with you. Let's talk a little bit of stats here right off the top, just to kind of set the table for who and what we're talking about. Dricus du Plessis, 31. Khamzat Chimaev, also 31. Dricus, 23-2 overall. 9-0 in the UFC. Both of these guys are undefeated in the UFC. Of course, Khamzat, 14-0 overall, 8-0 in the UFC. So really, both of them just have had an incredible UFC run, but they've looked really different, and we're going to talk about that. 6 finishes for Dricus du Plessis. I don't know why I didn't write down the number of finishes for Khamzat, but there's a lot of them. And let's see, 6-1 for Dricus du Plessis, 6-2 for Khamzat Chimaev, 76-inch reach for Dricus, 75 for Khamzat. So they're basically the same height and reach. Really not a big difference there. I might argue that they're a little bit different in size. I think Dricus is the bigger guy. I can't imagine him ever making 170, but Khamzat's not a small 185er. So I don't know that that's a huge storyline.
Yeah, different body types for sure.
Yeah, different body types for sure. Dricus du Plessis, just a couple of quick, interesting factoids off the top. Dricus has the longest active win streak in the middleweight division and the third longest active win streak in middleweight history. So what he's doing in this division is pretty extraordinary. Obviously, Khamzat right on his heels, though. A lot of his wins have been at welterweight, which is why you don't necessarily see him on the same list. Khamzat, on the other hand, third highest submission attempt rate among active UFC fighters. I think that is a critical thing to talk about in this fight. It's not just the wrestling, it's the submission attempt rate. He has earned top position in 50.1% of his octagon time. Half the time he's ever been in an octagon, he's been in a dominant position. And he has only given up 6 seconds of bottom position time in the UFC. And of course, the stat that we always used to trot out, which isn't true anymore, but still really interesting. What was it, like 4 fights in, 3 fights in? He'd only been hit twice. So a pretty extraordinary run for him. All right, just a couple other stats off the top here. Average fight length for Chimaev is only 6 minutes, 5 seconds, 13 minutes and 45 seconds for Dricus du Plessis. Both of them have a pretty high knockdown average, 0.48 for du Plessis, 0.62 for Chimaev. Both of them pretty high volume guys. 6.12 significant strikes landed per 15 minutes for du Plessis, 5.36 for Chimaev. Where it gets a little interesting to me is the striking accuracy. So du Plessis, 48.9% accuracy, and 58.9% for Chimaev, which is pretty extraordinarily high. UFC average is 44.46. However, we always need to take into context the striking accuracy also includes ground strikes. So hard to miss when you're punching a guy who's underneath you. Strikes absorbed per minute, 4.9 for du Plessis. That is a little high. And 3.25 for Chimaev. Striking defense for du Plessis, 54.1%. And 41.9% for Chimaev. Takedown average per 15 minutes, obviously very high for Chimaev at 4.13, 2.55 for du Plessis, so still pretty high there. 100% takedown defense for Chimaev, 50% for du Plessis, a little bit below actually the UFC average of 62.5% in the takedown defense. And then the submission attempt average is 0.73 for du Plessis and 2.77 for Chimaev. So after I've yammered on about a bunch of numbers, here is my first, I think, to set the table. I want to talk about them separately as fighters, and then we can talk about what they look like matched up together. Khamzat Chimaev has had a really weird and extraordinary and incredible and aura-filled run in his time in the UFC. What has been your impression of him as over this sort of arc? Because to me, it kind of like, there's like different phases. There's the early on, everyone's like, oh my God, who is this boogeyman? Who will ever be able to touch him even once? Then there's the, oh, he's human and his cardio kind of sucks phase. And I feel like we may have kind of worked our way out of that a little bit with the Robert Whittaker, and we're going to talk a lot about the Kamaru Usman fight as well. I feel like we might be in a different era. That's my take on it. What's your take?
It's so hard to put a finger on all this because we're talking about sample sizes. We're not monitoring a guy in the room every day and going, okay, this is exactly what he is. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, when he first came out the gate, we unleashed him on Reese McKee and a guy named John Phillips or something, right? So, like, I can't even remember their names barely. So, so when you deal with a high output, high octane athlete like him against a B-level fighter, he's going to mash them up. He's going to make them look like they didn't even belong inside the octagon. I mean, that's the type of horsepower he has in his offense. And then when you put him up against a guy who has a little bit better defense, like a guy like Gilbert Burns, then we go, okay, he still can fight. Like he's still the dude, right? We still saw something from him. And then the Robert Whittaker fight is such a one-off. You gotta say that was a one-off. I mean, he crushed his teeth. He got in a really good position on Robert Whittaker early, which he does with everybody, and he crushed his teeth that were already damaged. So it was kind of a one-off. So it's really hard to say what we're dealing with a guy like Khamzat Chimaev because the sample size still, to me, is so small. We don't have like all this concrete information. So what I try to base it on is what I hear about him from in the gym. Like I got people on the inside.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I know people. I know people who know him from Sweden. And what I can tell you.
Word on the street, Dean.
And when the word on the street from Sweden is that everything that I'm talking about how good he is against B-level guys, he's that good to A-level guys. That's the problem. Is he's that good to A-level guys. He hasn't really had an opportunity to show it. Even though he has, right? Even though he has, like, he absolutely for 2 rounds dominated Kamaru Usman. He mashes up Robert Whittaker in what I just called a one-off. But apparently, to the people in Sweden who know him from the gym every day, that's normal.
Yeah,
he's supposed to.
And I kind of was like you. I vacillated between how much stock do I put in the Robert Whittaker fight, because you're right. The fact that Whittaker's teeth were already damaged, and obviously you can see how fast he tapped when it was right across the jaw. I mean, anyone.
Like, you messing up my smile, dog.
It's the grossest injury, one of the grossest injuries to me. I remember that happened to my boxing coach, LC Davis, when he fought in.
Old LC.
What's that?
LC Davis, yeah.
Yeah. He was my boxing coach forever. I love LC. And I just remember watching that fight and he ended up winning, and he did his post-fight interview, and the whole bottom of his jaw was just like, all the teeth were completely disconnected and caved completely that way. And I can't get the image out of my mind. Anyway, point being, part of me wanted to say what you said, which was like, okay, well, it was already damaged. Maybe it's not as impressive, but man, I don't know, because something tells me that rear naked choke would have found its way in. He was managing that top position. You go back and watch it. He was managing that top position so beautifully against Robert Whittaker, who, I say it, I'm not sure if you've said it, but I know a lot of other people have said it, how great Robert Whittaker's defensive grappling is. And he went out there and did that to him. Injury notwithstanding, I don't know. I still find it very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. Like, even though we have a small sample size, you almost have to give him the benefit of the doubt based on the stories. And I do oftentimes when they come from credible sources, and this comes from a very credible source who has seen Khamzat in the room with some really high-level guys, some current guys in the division who he just said, yo, it wasn't even competitive.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen him in those type of fights with a lot of guys inside the octagon. That's the problem. We don't know what it looks. We don't know really what it looks like at middleweight under the lights, other than what we've seen against him and Robert Whittaker.
I think that's a very fair assessment. And on the flip side, talking about the run that we've seen DDP have, it's kind of been the opposite. Where in the beginning we were like, this guy is really spazzy, and he's
garbage.
I mean, listen. I talk about the eye test all the time on Contender Series. I can usually have a good sense of where a guy is in his development within watching the first, I don't know, few minutes of fight footage. Because you can see things like balance and like their understanding of how to get up. And like when you watched DDP fight at first, it was like, this is not cute. This is not cute. But we've grown to realize that whatever it is he's doing is effective. And his fight IQ combined with I'm going to call it creative rather than, I've probably used some more derogatory terms in the past. Point being, it's apparently better than we thought. It's not only better than we thought, it's really flipping good. And when you couple that with the mind that he's got, not only for fighting, but just outside of fighting, and his strength, his cardio, and now it's like he's starting to clean up some of the technique as well. It's not quite as wild. It's not just the Derek Brunson fight, that we're seeing out there. There's a lot of moments where he does look really clean. It's sort of like the fan base has been the opposite with him. Like, it took him a while. It took us all a while to get on board. And now we're like, you know what? It's pretty hard to deny the results. The man finds a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, he might have gotten wrongly accused of having bad cardio early because of his nose issue.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't breathe out of his nose. So clearly he was
gasping. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going to be an issue, like if you can't breathe out of your nose.
Yeah.
And so if we eliminate that, I mean, and there were times where he still like physically looked tired, but that never deterred him from his mission of winning a fight. Like, he's mentally strong. Like, he's got this mental fortitude, and his belief in himself is world class.
Yeah.
And it's not just every fighter I know has world class belief 3 months before a fight.
And then,
3 months, or when they don't have a fight signed.
Yeah.
Every fighter I know is the best fighter in the world.
Yeah.
And then when that fight gets signed, it's a little less. It's a little less. And then as they get closer to the fight, it's all these excuses. Dricus du Plessis doesn't have that. Like this guy, even in the thick of being in a world championship fight, even if he's losing, he's still in his mind thinking that he's the best in the world, and you can see that in his performances. I mean, he's got a world-class mental fortitude.
Yeah. So the I'll call it the easy way, and maybe it's not wrong. Sometimes I feel like I have a tendency to overanalyze and try to find something, maybe an angle that someone hasn't brought up yet, and then I get a little bit too in the weeds about stuff and talk myself out of what is the most obvious thing right in front of you, which in this fight is what you brought up in the beginning, right? Does the fight come down to whether or not Dricus can survive and then go on and thrive after the first round? Or is it more complicated than that? Because can I just move?
No, I was go ahead, say what
No,
you said.
I asked you a question and then I interrupted you. I'm going to ask you a question, then I'm going to answer my own question. I think it might be a little bit more complicated than that. I think that the whole idea that Khamzat's cardio sucks is a little bit overblown, if I'm being honest.
I mean, we tend to. So I read a lot, and one thing I've learned in my studies of reading is that our brains tend to try to make sense of everything, and we oftentimes hang on to the lowest hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. And so what you were saying before, it's not always what it looks like, right? So when you see a guy get tired, he's got bad cardio. He needs to run more. And it's never really that simple. It's probably something completely different, something that's easily fixed. And you're right. So it's almost always a little more complex than what we think about it. But we just tend to, because we're speaking to idiots half the time, we just say things like, oh, his cardio's bad. Mm-hmm. And when we look at a guy like Khamzat, we just go, oh, his cardio's bad. Like his cardio might have looked bad because he overexerted himself, because in his first 4 fights, he got all those guys out of there in a total of 2 minutes by overexerting himself. So that was what was working for him, and he thought he could do that to everybody. So he tried that with some other guys, and it didn't work, and it exhausted him a little bit. I'm more willing to bet that he doesn't have bad cardio.
I agree, especially now. And I think that, if you've watched any other content, leading up to this fight, whether it's on his page or other people's page, the thing that you're going to hear talked about is the fact that he's working with Sam Calavita now, who is kind of a renowned strength and conditioning, particularly when it comes to cardio-based coach within the MMA space. Has been for a very, very long time. He's kind of like considered a guru in terms of, if you want the best cardio, you go and you work with this guy. But it's not just that. It's the fact that he has completely resituated his training prior to the Robert Whittaker fight. We just didn't get to see enough of the Robert Whittaker fight, which, by the way, was a 5-round fight. So he was training for a 5-round fight for Robert Whittaker. We just didn't get to see all 5 rounds of it. He changed his training situation, was training at altitude in Russia. I'm not entirely sure how this camp was situated for him, but I know that it's different than it was before. And from word on the street that I hear, Dean, I've got people too, that was a big deal for him mentally in terms of the stress that he was under because of a lot of factors completely unrelated to fighting in his other situation. So where he's living now, who he's training with now, and what he's doing now are perfectly aligned for him to make the most out of his incredible athletic raw talents. And that I'm excited to see.
Now, can we talk about that word alignment? Because that word is so important in terms of what we see from a good fighter. Alignment, that is key. Oftentimes, so when we talk about cardio, we tend to separate that from everything else because we know what that looks like. And if we've competed before, we know what that feels like. Mm-hmm. No pro fighter that trains regularly has bad cardio. None of them do. Mm-hmm. They don't. There's a misalignment between their pace and their skill set. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's a misalignment between your pace and your skill set. Now, if Khamzat is training regularly and he's got his stuff together and he feels in alignment, he's going to be fine next Saturday night. And it's not going to be a cardio issue. It's a matter of him pacing himself to be aligned with his skill set. And we know he has a pretty vast skill set. Like, he can do a lot. So, and the more you can do, the more activity you can have, and the more you'll be fine. So I don't think that we're going to see an issue with his cardio. I do think he's going to come out fast though. And then if it doesn't work, I think he'll realize, hey, listen, this is a 5-rounder. I can slow it down now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be hell, I think, early on for Dricus in that first 3 minutes.
100%. To me, and if people watching, most people watching haven't fought, but maybe they've, competed in some sort of athletic pursuit. Fighting is a whole different animal in terms of cardio, because, for instance, when you're running, right, you are so aware of the level of your gas tank. This happened to me just the other weekend. I almost don't want to describe. I trained with my son's cross country team, and they are 11, and I am not.
And they don't get tired.
Yes, they are children, and they're not. My son's not nearly as strong as I am, but he doesn't get tired. They're kids. They just don't get tired. And it was fascinating. The coach was there, and he just went ahead and he's like, you can do the workout with us. I was like, cool. I am not a runner. When I run one pace, and there's no thought to it. I'm just jogging to burn calories. Like, I'm not a runner. Point being, I was so fully aware of where my gas tank was and how little I had left during certain spots where we were supposed to be running really hard. In a fight, it's such a different thing, because cardio at that point is not just about, can I continue to do one thing? It's, do I have access to make good decisions?
And that's what I mean. And that comes down to skill set.
Yeah.
That comes down to skill set, because you can only make decisions based on your skill set.
Yes.
You can't go, all right, now I'm going to shoot lightning bolts. No.
Exactly.
You can only make decisions based on your skill set. Now, this is where the cardio thing becomes kind of a misnomer in a way, because there's a time limit on it. We know how much time it's going to be. It's not going to be 3 hours. They're never going to change the time limit to where we have to. You just have to do what you need to do for the time that you're given.
Yeah. It's a fascinating thing to think about, but I love that idea that, like, it is having a good cardio base is not just about, sweating less or breathing easier. It is about having access to the tools in the moment that you need them, because there's so many times where, like, I obviously only fought 8 times, you fought a million times, but I can vividly remember the times in the fight where I wanted to do a thing and I couldn't do it. I knew what I needed to do, and I physically could not do it. And there's no worse feeling in the world.
Well, and this is why I like talking to you about this stuff like this, because you can have this conversation without just saying, oh, you just need to get in better shape.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not about that. It's really not about that. Now, to answer that question too, is like to have that thought process of like, why don't I have the energy to make that good decision? It was probably something stupid that you did prior, 100%. That if you didn't do that, yes, you wouldn't be in the position you're in right now.
Exactly.
And it's not a cardio issue. It's because you did something stupid 2 minutes ago.
Yes. So I think for this fight, it's going to be really fascinating to see if I don't think Khamzat's going to take a different approach. I think it would be. Do you think he's going to take a different approach? Do you think? I mean, I can't imagine him starting slow.
No. Well, see, that would be weird, right? Like if
it would be weird.
It would be kind of weird if he started slow, and I would almost suggest it. Like if he takes a slow first minute, I'm almost like, hey, Dricus, jump on him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want this. Like, he doesn't want to go fast right now. Like, you almost want to make him, like, if he starts fast, okay, you weather that storm and you go, okay, I need to pull out every trick I have to survive this and not take punishment, right? Like, that would be the goal. Don't let him get on my back. Don't take punishment, right? So your guard needs to be elite in order to beat a guy like Khamzat. Like, don't take punishment. Fight him from your guard. Make him work. Keep him off balance. Tie him up. All right, you weathered that storm. Let's start over. But if he starts off slow, I'm thinking, hey man, maybe jump on his booty. Maybe jump on him, right? Maybe jump on him because like he's prepared himself to start a little slower. So let's maybe jump on him a little faster and see what he's got.
Well, and that's
Put him on the back foot, right?
Do you, if you're cornering Dricus, is that something, even if he doesn't start slow, do you try to match the energy early? Kind of almost in the way that, like, I picture the Gilbert Burns fight. Gilbert was the first guy who at least tried to push Khamzat to the extent that he could. He tried to match him energy for energy, and that ended up being a very, very high-paced fight. A lot of scrambles, a lot of crazy exchanges in the pocket, and it was the first time we were like, oh, wow, you know, Khamzat is a human being. Now, obviously, he went on to win that fight, but he was put in danger. Do you think DDP should take the approach of like, hey, let's just fight fire with fire? Or do you think it's better to be like, you know what, no, be much more defensive round one, and then let's just start over round two?
Yeah, I think that's a very important point, and it's also something that some fighters don't really recognize it all that much, is that there's times to just really lean into your defense. There's times you got to really just lean into your defense. And I think that you can be aggressively defensive to make Khamzat work. And I think that would be what my approach into that first round is, to get close to him, make him wrestle, make him want to take me down, have a really good guard that's keeping him off balance, and then get back up, make him take me down again, but just being really defensive. Like the last thing you want to do against these guys, and this has always been my gripe against the females that have fought Kayla Harrison, is why are you staying away from her? She's going to catch you. She's going to maul you. Then you're going to try to stand back up. She's going to get your back, and she's going to dump you again. Khamzat's going to do the same thing if you allow him to. We've seen him do that over and over to everybody in the world. That's not the approach. It's like, okay, you got to have some better answers. And I think for me, you have to be able to separate your offense and defense from fighting him. And when your offense isn't working, you can't be trying to get it to work. Just go on defense for a moment to slow him down a little bit, and then go back on offense. But you got to have a 100% committed defense that you're not getting taken advantage of and that you're not getting hurt. Because that's what happens. These guys are trying to turn it around too soon, and they end up getting hurt in the process.
For DDP, what do you think this fight? So I guess I'm not going to even pose the question that way. What do you think this fight's going to look like? Really, truly. What do you think it's going to look like?
It never looks like it the way I think it's going to look like. And I hate to be one of the masses, but I'm with everybody else on this. Like this is over in the first or early second round, because Dricus just gets overwhelmed early, and then he's hurt badly, and then gets finished either late in the first round, somewhere in the first round, or early in the second round. Or Dricus survives all that. He survives it all and turns it around, slowly but surely turns it around, and ends up winning late in the fifth round, or a close decision, because the first rounds were so bad that he had to win the last three rounds, something like that. So, but I'm more leaning towards the first one. I've learned, Laura, I've learned in my days not to trust my instinct that fighters will do the right thing. That's what's always gotten me in trouble. Like, I make picks based on believing that fighters will do the right thing in order to win that fight, and then they go out there and don't do the right thing, and then they end up losing.
So you're picking Khamzat?
As of today, I'm going to pick Khamzat, despite what the world might think, how I feel about Khamzat. They think I hate him.
I know. Let's discuss that. I had that in my list of topics of discussion. So
we got to talk about that, huh?
I got your pick, and I was prepared to like go head to head with you on why I thought Khamzat was going to win, even though I'm not like. I think the line, last time I looked, the line was Khamzat was like minus 180. I feel like that's a pretty accurate line. I favor him, but not by a huge margin. I will not at all be surprised if DDP is able to withstand the storm and then, either outpoint him in a decision or even find something later on in the fight. I just think that early storm is going to be a bit too much. And part of what really swayed me, to be honest with you, is I went back and I watched the Brunson fight, and I didn't necessarily love what I saw in the Brunson fight. And I imagined if Derek Brunson was Khamzat Chimaev, that Dricus probably would have been finished. Yeah. And when you look at the last, 4 opponents he's had, Strickland, Adesanya, Strickland, Whitaker, none of those guys are looking to offensively wrestle. It's not
no
something.
doubt.
What's that?
Yeah, no doubt. And none of them really have like that umph, right? They don't really got that. Like Izzy is a slick striker. Strickland, I mean, he's gonna jab and teep kick you
To death.
to death. Like no one's really gonna like be staring at, like, got that beard staring across you the other side, ready growling. You know what I'm saying? Like he's built a little differently.
He's built real different. To your point earlier that you brought up, you made some headlines this last week or so with Khamzat Chimaev becoming champ would be a disaster for the UFC. Isn't it fun how when you do one interview and you say one thing, someone will grab it, and then it becomes, that's all Din Thomas has ever said about Khamzat Chimaev. That is his only thought on Khamzat Chimaev. He doesn't like him. He thinks he's like, it's crazy to me. Your whole point was that it's hard for him to be an active champ, which is,
Dude,
you're not wrong. I don't think anyone would disagree.
I thought I was stating the obvious. I thought I was just saying what everybody else was thinking. I had no idea that Bilal Muhammad thinks that Khamzat's gonna go out there and be fighting, every 3 months to defend his belt to keep the division moving. I had no idea.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he made a whole post. Bilal Muhammad made a whole post like, what the bleep is Din Thomas talking about?
Oh, he did?
I swear it. I was like, yo, I'm flattered, honestly. I'm flattered by the attention from that. But I thought I was stating the obvious. I'm like, we've got a guy who has been averaging one fight a year for one reason or another. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, but this excuse and that's just like that. The excuses are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about he hasn't. It's irrelevant to the fact that as a contender, he only fights one time a year. Imagine him as champion that's got media obligations and his life blows up. This guy's going, when is he? I mean, was it good for the division when John Jones became heavyweight champ? And it wasn't even as solid. The only person who was affected by that was Tom Aspinall. Now we're talking about the middleweight division where you got Reiner de Ritter, you got Kyle Bahia, we got Imavov, we got all these guys that want to fight for the title. If you give it to Khamzat Chimaev and then he goes, hey guys, I'm sick, or hey guys, I can't fight now, or hey guys, I can't fight in the States, or hey guys, I got it. Dude, the whole division is going to suffer.
Yeah, you're not, it's really not that hot of a take because it is in fact what we have witnessed over the last couple of years. You're just kind of, like you said, sitting, I think it's the word disastrous.
Yeah. Is that what it was? I'm like, yo, I thought everybody thought this way.
I will say though, I hate interim championships, but I do think that the UFC would be quick to pull the trigger if that were to be the case. But your point still stands. I don't know that we can count on. Maybe we can. I mean, maybe in this new training situation. But my whole point is maybe we can, but we don't know that because that is not at all what has been demonstrated to us for the last couple of years.
Okay, so you see what I'm seeing. Like, I'm not tripping because for a while I thought, damn, maybe I'm tripping.
No, I mean, again, it doesn't matter whether it was his fault or not. I mean, obviously, if you're sick, you can't fight. But that's your point. Like, some people get sick or injured more often than others. We've seen that throughout, the history of UFC champs. Some champs have a hard time getting into regular fights and others don't. Like Adesanya was clicking off championship fights at an insane pace. Volkanovski, I mean, and then other guys, whether it's in their control or not, just aren't able to maintain that. Like it's not a character flaw. I don't think you're trying to attack his character. It's just,
dude, they was like, see, Din Thomas hates Muslims. And I'm like,
oh.
I was like, now I know how white people felt when I always pulled a race card. I'm like, it ain't got nothing to do with that.
I get that too. I get that all the time. In fact, I had a very angry person in my DMs say some really horrible things to me about how much I hate Muslims and how I should be. I won't even tell you what they said, but and I never respond to this stuff. But I just had time. I just had time that day And I
Oh,
was,
really?
oh,
You
I just had
responded?
time. I won't ever do it publicly, but I was like, and I was really nice about it. I was like, listen, I'm not gonna respond to you the same way that you came at me, calling me a whore and saying that I should be R-worded and all these things. I'm just gonna slip this video to you where I very publicly defended Habib on his thoughts on Octagon Girl. Like, I don't know where these people get this impression. My point is that yes, I get the same shit. I get the same stuff that like
I'm
I
impressed,
apparently,
Laura.
which is not true at all.
Always impressed and always get more respect from you day by day.
What's that?
I
Well,
always get more respect from you day by day.
thank you.
For you. Respect for you, not
Thank
from
you.
you. More respect for you. Yeah. I'm
From and
impressed.
from me. You get it
Yeah.
from me also.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Anyway, all right, we've got your pick on the fight. We got how you think the fight's going to play out. What if you did have any thoughts on if the fight goes late? What's that going to look like?
See, I think that comes down to, well, we know that Khamzat has shown to be a dog against Gilbert Burns, so he did that. We haven't seen it often, but we know what it looks like if it gets late with DDP. So I still have to side with, if it's late, I still have to side with DDP just because we know what he's going to do. We know he's not going to let another human being beat him in the fifth round, right? Like his fifth rounds are just, he really finds another burst of energy to win in the fifth round. So I'm not sure. We've seen it against Gilbert Burns, but we didn't see that with Kamaru Usman. Like we saw him kind of go, "Yo, I won the first two, so I'm good." You know what I'm saying? So
he slowed down quite a bit.
yeah, slow down quite a bit. So I think if it does go late, I would still favor Dricus du Plessis.
Yeah, and that was Kamaru Usman on late notice.
Yeah. And a weight class up.
And a weight class up. Yep, I know.
Yeah.
Every time I start injecting these X factors, I just start convincing myself the other way. I'll be very happy for Dricus if he gets this done. I'll be happy for either of them, but it did make me think. It made me imagine the visual of a title fight between Dricus du Plessis and Reiner de Ritter.
Oh man, what does that look like?
Just listen.
That's the slowest fight in history.
It is the whitest, slowest, least slick, least athletic, but they got there and they are it, and you can't deny it.
Hey, no, props to both of those guys, man. Both of those guys are hell of a fighters, and despite what we may talk about, a little stiff, but man, they can fight. So
Absolutely.
props to them for being able to go out there and give us all.
And before the Dutch people come for me, okay? Because I think Dricus du Plessis might be, I realize he's from South Africa, but he might be genetically Dutch. There's a lot of Dutch people in South Africa. I am also Dutch. I am half Dutch. So don't come for me about the Dutch
Well,
thing.
Reiner said that. You know what we need to do? We're only going to reserve our criticisms to Canadians.
Yes.
Canadians are cool, man. They be like, yeah, you know what? Hey, you're right.
Hey, you're right. All right, let me pull up what we have in terms of fan questions on this one. All right, from @DrunkJitsu, DDP versus Chimaev. Is there any evidence of recent times of Chimaev gassing at 185? Is it possible he has remedied this? Well, I feel like we just spent 30 minutes talking about this, but so sorry to reiterate, but gassing, I'm not prepared to say that he's like fully gassed at 185, to be honest with you. He gassed
The question
a
was,
bit.
is there any recent evidence of Chimaev gassing at 185?
At 185. He gassed a bit against Kamaru, but even then, I don't feel like it was like a true, he's a sitting duck. I think it was more like what you said. He pulled his foot off the gas a little bit because he felt like he could.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's had 2 fights at 185 in the last, 3 years?
Yeah, and one of them was over real quick.
Yeah, so...
Well, I always get confused about which fight was at which weight class with him. Kevin Holland, did that end up being 185? It did, didn't
I
it?
think that was 185.
Yeah, because it was
That had
last.
to be.
Yeah, they moved him up.
Yeah, that was when he was supposed to fight Nate Diaz, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
he was
that
supposed
was.
to fight Nate Diaz. He ended up fighting Kevin Holland. That's over real quick. So I mean, has there any? He's not fought a long fight at 185, except with the exception of Kamaru Usman, and that was a 3-round fight. And he took his foot off the gas in the third round, and that's the last we've seen of him in a long fight at 185 in the last ever.
Yeah. And I do think it's possible, to your last question, last part of your question, is it possible he has remedied this? I do think that seems to be taking any step he can to make sure he's got the best base possible, working with new coaches. I don't know if it was Armand Saruki. Someone posted today talking about how he has chronically overtrained for many, many years. And he's finally in a place where he's got guys that he respects enough, and they're like, do less. You need to do less, actually.
Well, that was what I was going to say too. Like perhaps in them fights too, maybe he was just overtrained. So like you being overtrained, you want to get in, get it out before you get. You know what I'm saying? Like that might have been the situation.
Yeah, and I mean, we know he struggled with long COVID for a long time and was trying to come back too soon and had, damage to his lungs. So yes, answer, I do think it's possible that he has remedied, if there even was an issue to begin with, which is debatable. Is DDP, this is from at Robert14550. Is DDP's grappling and ground game overrated or underrated? Ooh, I'm going to go to you first on this one, Dean. I got thoughts.
From what we've seen inside the octagon, it's neither. It's right where we think it is.
It's rated.
It's right where it's supposed to be. The way we think about it. I think for this fight against Khamzat, it's going to have to be better than what I think it is. Mm-hmm. Now, Bisping always brings up the clip where DDP goes to the Gracie Baja Academy and chokes out 10 black belts, and we go, oh man, he's so great, he choked out 10 black belts. I mean, we don't know what that situation was like. There's places that may have 10 black belts in them, and they probably could have been all 40-year-old men. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when I go to a gym, I wear a black belt too. He's going to choke me out. There's no doubt about that. So it's not like he was in the dressing room at Worlds and choked out 10 black belts there. Yeah. So it's a bit different. So I don't really know if his ground game is overrated, underrated, but I will say this, from what I've seen of it, it's going to have to be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mind just keeps replaying again the Derek Brunson fight. And it's not like I'm not saying he got utterly dominated by Derek Brunson on the ground, but there was like a good 3-ish minutes where he was stuck on bottom and Derek was able to really control him. The difference is that Derek wasn't looking to submit him necessarily. And that is something that Khamzat Chimaev is not just a wrestler. The guy is a major submission threat. And that to me is someone that we have not seen DDP face at all. Like not even close. A lights out wrestler who is also a submission threat is just such a nasty combination in the UFC. And it's easy to conflate those two and just assume that someone who's good at wrestling is also good at submitting and grappling and all of the intricacies of those three things. It's not always the case. There's a lot of good guys who are great at submissions who suck at wrestling. And there's a lot of guys who are really great at wrestling who don't do shit with it. And Khamzat is dangerous in every way that you can be. Last one here. At Don't Be Silly Jump the Gilly. Love that name. What is the goofiest way you guys see Du Plessis versus Khamzat happening / finishing? The goofiest way possible this fight could finish or happen? The funny thing about Chimaev, this would be easier to say if it was a 3-round fight, more difficult to do in a 5-rounder, but because he can be so dominant, he's a guy that's easy to have draws against. Because he can 10-8 guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then kind of get pointed out in other rounds.
Yeah.
It's definitely harder to do that in a 5-round fight, but it's not off the table.
I'm thinking, DDP has a pretty good left high kick. Mm-hmm. What if he catches Khamzat in the chin? Like on a break or something, he just throws that kick up, catches him right on the chin, out cold. Like that would be pretty miraculous.
Clip it, clip it. That's going to be the clip that runs when DDP gets a head kick.
Yeah, yeah, right.
We should just, I think I've suggested this before, we should just film ourselves saying every possible outcome with like a lot of conviction. And then that way when it happens, we can just, put that out on social media.
But you know how the MMA gods work though, right?
Yeah. They don't
You
like
can
that.
we can come up with 100 of them, and the MMA gods are gonna be like, nope, here's the 101.
Absolutely.
Yep, they won't let you have it.
It makes me think, remember that movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy? Mm-hmm. I don't know why that just popped into my brain.
Oh, that's the MMA gods.
Yes,
Crazy.
MMA gods are definitely crazy. All right, that's all we got for fan questions. Dean, I appreciate your insights, your time, all that good stuff. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. And thank you guys for watching this video. Always lots of other content to check out on the channel. We appreciate your likes. We definitely appreciate your subscription. And we will see you next time.